And thank you for staying with us. I still have Adewale Adeoye and Dari Odufowoko in the studio. Now, there is rumble in the public university system, and no one knows yet what it will breed. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, may be heading for another showdown with the federal government over half salary paid its members for October 2022. The University of Lagos UNILAG chapter of the union described this development as insensitive and disheartening. In a statement, the branch chairman of ASUU, Dele Ashiru, said the leadership of the union at the national level has been duly informed. ASUU National President Professor Emmanuel Sodeke, who confirmed this development, said they are going to summon a meeting over the matter. Meanwhile, the federal government has dismissed reports that its paid university lecturers have salary for October. According to a statement from the Ministry of Labour and Employment, members of ASUU were paid their October salary on pro rata basis and not half salary because they cannot be paid for work not done. Gentlemen, is there a possibility of another strike by ASUU with this development? Let me come to you, Adewale.
Well, I think both sides need to be faithful to the agreement that was had. And one thing we should know is that for about 7 months, ASUU has been on strike, the latest, of the strikes that we have been having for several years. And I thought that one of the agreement was that the salaries will be paid to the ASUU members. One thing we should not forget is that the salary that the government pays to ASUU members, if you're a lecturer, if you get your letter of employment, is three broad areas: research, community development, and teaching. In fact, teaching is about 20-something%. Why they were, and this salary is meant for accommodation, health, transportation, and why they were on strike, they might not have been teaching. But I'm sure that those lecturers who are doing research, whether they like it or not, they were also involved in community service. And I also feel that not paying them for 7 months, the work that they did not do for that period, what the lecturers usually do is that they will set tones for extra lectures, sometimes ending around 10, 7. So it's not a job that, if you don't do it, then you don't do it again. They still need to graduate those students, though it will take longer time. But those lecturers, they still need to teach those students the lectures that they missed for that period. And for you to now pay them half salary after about 8 months, I don't think that is right, though. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because the education is the most important, industry. Anything that affects education will affect almost every aspect of our lives. It's as if we don't even think it matters any longer. So I don't think it is right.
All right, Dari, is there any justification for this, whether pro rata, whether half salary? Is there any justification?
I'm not going to pass judgment here. I would rather call on the federal government to take things seriously. I think the government is reacting angrily. We cannot continue to pretend that these two parties, the government and the university lecturers, are having a tea party. They're not having a tea party. Government is reacting angrily, perhaps because the lecturers acted angrily too for 7 months. But I think if we look at this issue critically, this is actually not about half salary or full salary. From my perception here, I'm looking at the situation that something crucial is yet to be resolved. And that's the issue of no work, no pay. It has not been resolved. That's something both parties are yet to agree on. And if government is saying no work, no pay, don't forget that for 14 days in October, the lecturers didn't work, they didn't teach. So that forms part of the period they did not work. So unless both parties find a way of jettisoning the no work, no pay thing, I will say, okay, we'll pay you, but don't do that next time, or pay us will find a way of making up for whatever you think we've not done. They must first agree on how to resolve the no work, no pay issue before this can be. That's why government is coming with big grammar. What's pro rata? Pro rata simply means that you were paid based on what you did. What's the difference between that and no work, no pay? It's the same thing. So you see, in Nigeria, we have a way of using words to sort of confuse ourselves. The minister could just have told reporters, have you people forgotten that we have a no work, no pay decision on ground? We have not resolved that. It's as simple as that. I think government should slow down, should take things easy. Like that young boy said, government should be calming down. At this point, all stakeholders should consider the students who are actually the grass in this case. 2 elephants have been fighting. The federal government, 1 elephant, ASUU, 1 elephant. What should be done? And one of such is this pro rata business. I think the only justification for government is the no work, no pay rule. And it's time to discuss that. Both parties should discuss it and find a way of doing away with it or resolving it a particular way, and then we can move on. So that's the way I see it.
Gentlemen, a professor at the Department of Political Science, University of Lagos, UNILAG, Kayode Isola, joins us via Zoom for more discussion on this. Thank you very much for joining us, Prof. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Kayode Isola is of the Institute of African and Diaspora Studies,
All right.
University of Lagos, at this point.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us.
To be clear.
Thank you. Now, can you give us a quick update on this recent happening between the federal government and your association? What exactly is happening?
Thank you very much. It is amazing and surprising how the federal government and the agents in Gige have been taking the whole situation. To them, it is like a war between the intellectual class and the political class. Because what ASUU has been saying is that federal government, you own these universities. Federal government, you owe the Nigerian people right to education. Let the education be of good quality. Fix the schools, fix the laboratory, polish the human resources so that your own schools that you own, with which you are supposed to serve the society, should be competitive around the world. I challenge the federal government and Ngige to tell me that what ASUU is saying is different from this. If this is what ASUU is saying, then you don't expect the kind of behavior exhibited by the agents of the Nigerian state, taking it personal, calling lecturers names. Sometimes when they talk, they say ASUU, forgetting that that ASUU as a name includes the vice president of this country. He's a professor. ASUU includes teachers who taught those who are even older than most of these ministers who are doing gangsterism in the society. They think ASUU is just one labor organization that does not include their teachers, their mentors, and everybody in the society. That is what these people have turned this country to, an anti-intellectual society. And all ASUU is saying, as I gave in my background, is that make education a good thing so that your government can serve the society the way it should serve it. Now, we don't understand what is going on at this point. I need to correct one impression. Papers and analysts have been saying lecturers were paid half salary in October. It is not up to half. Half, from what I learned in my elementary mathematics, is 50% of what you are supposed to get. An average lecturer got about 35 or 40% of what they're supposed to get. Reason, I don't know. If, for instance, you are choosing to pay me half of my salary, let's assume my salary is 200,000 and you are paying me 100,000. But from the 100,000, you now deduct 100% tax, 100% amount for the NHS, and every other deductions that you are supposed to have. What I have at the end of the day, is it up to 50%? No. So that needs to be clarified. I think what the Nigerian people need to know at this point is that ASUU is and has never been the problem. We had rights under the law of the Constitution of Nigeria to go on strike, to call our employers to order where they appear to be going astray.
All right, Prof.
We exhibited that right. And ultimately, we settled for political solution in the interest of everybody. But government that is supposed to show example decided to go as if it was a fight between the president of ASUU and the Minister of Labor and Employment. This is unfortunate and should not be allowed to continue in this kind of country.
All right, thank you, Prof. Can you also confirm to us that the federal government paid full salaries to selected professional members of the union who are members of the Medical and Dental Consultants Association?
Thank you very much. That will be difficult for me to confirm. I mean, when you say confirm, I should be able to give you evidences. Once I'm not part of their union, it is difficult, if not impossible, for me to confirm whether they have been paid or their salary is half or full. I can pick information from other sources. So if you want me to rely on what I pick from sources, it is true that some of these other professionals have been paid. But that is not a confirmation because I don't have a document to confirm them from you. But I pick it from them that they have been paid. It is only ASUU that the federal government sees as enemy. Whereas this is the only union that has never been that has never made bread and butter as the ultimate reason for working. We want the system to improve. We're not saying pay us like you are paying them in America or the United States, but that union, unfortunately, now becomes the enemy of the system that it wants improved. That's a paradox.
All right, so there are reports that the National Executive Council of ASUU will meet this week. Can you let us into some of the issues that will be up for debate?
Well, it is just procedural. The way our union works is that before any public statement is made by anybody, be you chairman or ordinary floor member like I am, NEC must meet and give a directive. I am quite sure that as we speak, there are meetings upon meetings, consultations upon consultations going on at the top level of the union. And until they make statements, there is nothing I can put to the public at this point. The information is that meetings are going on, consultations are going on, and at the appropriate time, input will be taken from individual branch, and then we'll take decision on how we are going to react to this. But let me just add that whatever NEC comes up with will be the official position of the union. But what about the personal position of our members, the psychological position? You refuse to pay somebody 8 months' salary, he works for a month, you pay not up to 50% to the person, and you are talking about intellectual work, not cutlass and hoe work to go and clear the yard. Something that makes you sit down in your study, read, study, digest, analyze, and impact the lives of the students with this knowledge. And then you think the lecturers will be in the psychological state of mind that will make them work? Who is at loss? Are they not our students, our children? Can a man who is hungry, can a man who has been paid Can a man who has not been paid for 8 months, whose landlord is almost chasing out, concentrate to sit in office and then teach and research in such a way that will benefit the nation? I think the political class in Nigeria should know that the university is not a laborer's yard. It's a different ball game here. As I speak to you, I am in my office. The lecturer does not have work hour. He works 24/7. Even when he's in the dining table, he has his computer beside him. If he's not marking, he's teaching online. If he's not doing that, he's conducting research, he's examining somebody somewhere, and then somebody says he's going to pay you for 15 days, 13 days, and he went to the university. If we had been dealing with a government that has a minister that did not attend university, would have been a different ballgame. I want to believe the Minister of Labor went to the university and he knows how the university system works and he's doing this. I congratulate him for being a hero that destroys the Nigerian educational system. I congratulate him for wanting his name to be written in gold as the sole destroyer of the university system in education. Last word is that Ngige should remember, the Nigerian political class must remember that any nation that treats the intellectual class the way we are being treated will have itself to blame. This is not now. The future will tell, and the future is beginning to reflect.
Yes, sir. You spoke about the position of NEC when it eventually meets, and the position of the individual lecturer who is going through the trauma of being treated this way. In your opinion now, what do you think should be done to end this whole drama? In your opinion, what should be done?
Number one, this is no longer the fight of ASUU. ASUU has respected government enough. I'm a teacher of politics. I'm a student of politics. I know that the state exists after God. The federal government has used the might of the state to force ASUU into surrender so that we could go back to work. We respected it. The instrumentality of the law was used. We respected it, okay? Individually, what I expect the federal government to do is also play its own role to allow the politics to settle so that we can continue to consult to solve the problem of our nation. So what I expect now is the federal government to immediately pay the 8-month backlog that they owe university lecturers. It is not a no work, no pay situation. Lecturers don't work by teaching. And they know they're only being mischievous. The lecturer's work is not like laborer's work. You work every minute, whether your students are there or they are not there. So federal government must pay this money immediately. That's my number one advice. If they refuse to, I think the Nigerian students should send a delegation to the federal government and make the government understand what it pretends not to. The parents of our students should also send a delegation to the federal government and make the body understand what it does not understand. I mean, children have come from all over the world back to the university. If by Monday, the lecturers have no strength to go to class to teach, some who go to class to teach now begin to risk collapsing on the floor of teaching because he has not been able to feed himself and his family. Is this what Nigeria wants? What is it that the Nigerian government wants from the lecturers that we have not done? Is it a crime to be patriotic?
All right,
fix your universities, build your school so that you can fulfill your promise to the electorate who brought you in 2015.
All right, Prof. You said that the federal government forced the association to call the strike, while many others thought there was a negotiation. Are you saying there was no negotiation?
My sister, you are aware that there were a series of negotiations. I even tell people that, what are we calling negotiation? Negotiation was done in 2009. What we call negotiation is implementation. There were working papers. And the federal government has the character of making committee work, paying them allowances, only to have reports submitted by the same committee and then throw the report into the bush. Not once, not twice, not thrice, not fourth. And then the last one was the intervention of the Speaker of the House. The result, at the end of the day, as we can see, has also been thrown to the bush. So what negotiation? There's no negotiation anymore. It is just implementation that they were waiting for. So if the government is serious about education, if the government does not want to take the Nigerian public for granted, if the government knows that power lies in the hand of the people, that the youth on the street is a stakeholder in this situation, not just ASUU, the government will do what it is supposed to do. And I pray the government comes to this reality and then resolve this problem at the right time. My sister, it is dangerous for our nation that government will coerce intellectuals to go into the class in empty stomach, some of them owing rent, some of them cannot repair their car, some of them don't have transportation to come to the office. And then you tell them to go and work, even if they work.
All right. So, Prof, are you insisting that ASUU was coerced into resuming back to class?
Well, it was a court of law that directed ASUU to go back to work in the first place. That is the instrumentality of the state. That is not what we wanted. But as a law-abiding union, we cannot insult the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal of Nigeria when it makes order. And of course, I did not expect anything different from what we did. The court is the maker and the interpreter of the law in this case. The court said, as you go back to work, we decided to respect the decision of the court. That is what I mean by being coerced to go and work. But I thought on the other side, if federal government was jubilating because it had won the war legally, the political side being undertaken by the Speaker, Bajabiamila, should have been respected if we want peace in the university system.
Prof.
But unfortunately, the government expects this to be a war. They hate the intellectual class with passion. In fact, it is like looking at lecturers as if, what are these useless people doing over there? They're just pains.
Hello, Prof.
That is my interpretation of the action.
Hello, Prof. We'd like to know if there are other fundamental issues, apart from the issue of salary payment, that the federal government still needs to address.
Thank you very much. You see, salary has never been the front burner of ASUU's agitation. Unfortunately, that is the interpretation that the government is giving to it now. I gave a background when I started. That look, go around our universities. What you see will drive you to tears in terms of decay of building, structure, infrastructure. Fix all these are the fundamental things. That's why we're talking about revitalization of the universities. That is why we're talking about this and that. And there's never been any improvement in the Nigerian university since 1965 that did not come through the struggle of our union. We struggled for it. We struggled to tell government to do what it's supposed to do on its own institutions. So there are many other issues, but salary is just a part of it. And it's a part of it because you cannot fix the system, okay, and make everything work, and then discourage the psychology and the morale of the human resources that will work there. They will leave, they will go away, and they're already living en masse.
All right.
Come back to the university now, the number of staff members you have in each faculty by the time the start resumed in February, 2021, must have dropped by 25%. Hey, people don't know the implication of this. You are losing your best brains into the world, and you are seated here, going to church, going to mosque to thank God under this kind of situation, rather than stand up to say, we are killing our country.
Prof, on a final note, at this point, what is the way forward? Because another strike would be a big blow to the education system.
Well, the way forward is for the Nigerian people to now see beyond any reasonable doubt that ASUU is not the problem, that the federal government is the problem. The way forward is for the Nigerian people to now understand that perhaps the too many of Western education is abominable, is what they are doing now. They want to destroy the real university system so that nobody will be educated anymore. The way forward is for the Nigerian people to confront the government and tell the government to do what it's supposed to do. On the issue of strike, I, Kayode Eshola, cannot declare or discuss or predict, whether our national body will call for declaration of strike or not. That is beyond my power, and I tell you, not even the president of the union can say that until next meet. But strike or no strike is not the way forward. The way forward is for the Nigerian people now to stand and confront the government that this is fraud. This should not happen. Don't kill education. We don't have the money to send our children to the best universities around the world. Our children school here. Except you don't want our children to school anymore, fix the problems in the universities and respect the voice of the intellectuals.
All right.
That is the way forward.
Thank you very much.
And the moment that is done, we are going to get out of this quagmire.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Kayode Eshola, Senior Research Fellow, Institute of African Diaspora Studies, UNILAG. Thank you very much for joining us, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.
Bye. All right, gentlemen. Does this look like a war between intellectuals and the federal government?
The intellectual class and the political class. But we shouldn't have that on our hands. It's unnecessary. And from his explanation, you will agree with me that the bone of contention is actually the no work, no pay clause. Both parties must find a way of resolving that. Government came up with that, in my understanding, as a reaction to the hard stance of ASUU when they refused to back down and go back to class. Fine. That was a period both parties were angry and determined to bend the other. Now, somehow, Nigeria has happened to them both now. ASUU, you heard him saying they had to respect the instrumentality of law. Government probably saw that as an opportunity and utilized it. Fine. The bottom line is lecturers are back in class. Should the political class, government now, still take hostages? I don't think so. Everybody will have to calm down, do away with grievances and anger, and address the issue in the best interest of the students. If ASUU decides to appeal the judgment that sends them back to class, and while waiting for appeal, they decide to go home now, the students will suffer. All government will do is to get the court to direct them back again. You see, government should calm down, look at the possibility of setting these monies that are now the issues, and very, very frustrating in the fact that for 8 months, the discussions were about not just the salary of lecturers or emoluments, what have you, but other serious issues that has to do with the university system. But after 8 months, the only issue we are back to discussing is issue of money. If we are yet to resolve that now, when are we going to start addressing the more serious issues?
All right, Adewale, your
That's
final
the
take
sad
on
part
this.
of it.
My worry is that there appears to be the link between the intellectual community and the government. And when the society faces that kind of challenge, it's a pitfall for all of us. Because the university system is the ground norm for industrialization, for intellectual development of the country, for the greatness of any nation. And when we are talking about the sources of ASUU in those days, it was dependent on experts, university lecturers. In fact, IFE was the egghead that provided the research, all sort of policies that were designed for the success of the Unity Party of Nigeria. So I think it's quite unfortunate. And the other very aspect, very quickly, is that when the lecturers are on strike, it covers the period of holidays. Naturally, students go on holiday, the Easter time, then the long vac. When they are on holiday during the long vac and Easter, should be the federal government pays them. So why are you now saying that you want to start paying from October? So they need to look for a solution. I don't think they are fighting for themselves. They are fighting for our collective interest.
Oh. All right, gentlemen. Fighting drugs in the society.